Comedy legend Jerry Seinfeld has been a very vocal critic of the intense PC culture, the extreme leftists that have been out on, well, hell, as early as I can remember when it comes to college campuses, of him talking about why comics don't want to play universities anymore because they are just the hotbed of politically correct culture. They are simply not looking for their ideas to be challenged, but instead to be reinforced, and that's kind of been the death of comedy. And so, recently, as he's been making the rounds talking about his new and upcoming gigs, even though he's been kind of sort of retired for a minute, but he's as a comedian never really retired. Nah, not really. But Jerry Seinfeld eviscerates extreme left for making comedy PC. Yeah, that's another thing, man. Like we've been talking about, and I've been cataloging the downfall of modern Hollywood, but you know what's been kind of absent from many of the box office blunders? Just an out-and-out comedy. Now you got Marvel quips and the Marvel humor that kind of permeates just about everything. The meta, self-aware, whoa, that just happened type crap, which everybody has, just gotten tired of a long time ago. But just cast your minds back to what, the late 90s, early 2000s, back when you had your Austin Powers, Mike Myers stuff, okay, Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler, all of those guys were out there doing absolutely hilarious stuff. But I've talked about this before, but it's been a minute. I think you can just simply boil down to the death of comedy to two simple words. Judd Apatow absolutely killed the genre with the stoner self-deprecating humor that always had the shelf life of cottage cheese, but everybody was more than willing to lap it up in the mid-2000s, but by the time the early 2010s rolled around, you didn't see too many comedies popping up. And even if you did, they didn't end up going very far. And if you take a look at Judd Apatow's personal politics, yeah, his intense and terminal TDS really does explain quite a bit. But storied comic Jerry Seinfeld is calling it like he sees it. Political correctness has been a detriment to comedy. Yeah, Seinfeld star unleashed on the extreme left, suggesting that while people still crave comic relief, they can't find it on television. Yeah, this is another thing, right? Like he was on New Yorker's Radio Hour, and he was listing off. It's like, okay, you'd go home and you'd try to get a laugh out of something, and you know that you'd have a reliable source of humor in the form of the sitcom of the day, whatever was out there. If it was, All in the Family, Married with Children, the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He didn't reference it, but, later output, like his own titular show, Simpsons, the first 3 seasons of Family Guy. Like, those were reliable sources of laughs. And up until the conclusion of The Big Bang Theory, think of that show whatever you will. Like, it was the highest rated show for a very long time. And before that, you had 2.5 Men, both of which of dubious quality, but they were known. Like, that was a sitcom, a 3-camera show that was out there that everybody at least knew. Now, what shows are on TV is one question, but what's the reliable comedy that's out there on TV right now? I can't think of any. Well, yeah, of course, The Simpsons and Family Guy are still on, but are they really on? But that's kind of where Jerry's veering in with this one. It used to be you'd go home at the end of the day, most people go, oh, Cheers is on, or MASH is on, the Mary Tyler Moore Show is on, All in the Family. You just expected there will be some funny stuff we can watch on TV. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap, and people worrying so much about offending other people. Well, yeah, that's exactly what this is. It's the feelings over facts. Not the Daily Wire thing, where it's Israel over facts. But no, we're going to talk about what is actually funny. What do a vast majority of people find to be hilarious? And you know what? It's normally a joke at some group's expense. And you know what? Everybody used to be in the targets of things like MASH. Like, you take a look at the cast of MASH. My father is a huge fan of MASH, or at least back in the day when it was, syndicated, and whenever it would be a holiday or a sick day or something like that. If it wasn't 11 o'clock and, The Price is Right was on just before lunchtime, sometime in the afternoon, you would hear, da-na-na-na-na-na. I've watched a ton of MASH. And yeah, that was something that took the piss out of everybody. And some of the characters that are on there, yeah, very much wouldn't align with today's sensibilities. But aligning with today's sensibilities is simply aligning with a small but overly vocal minority. I've talked about this time and time again, where people like the individuals that push back against this stuff. So all it's going to take in order to bust this narrative is to just somebody to simply have the cojones to stand up against this mob and put something out there. Because what's the most popular stuff that's out there right now? You take a look at minutes watched. Like, there was a recent finding that showed the most successful streamer on the internet, or I'm sorry, in the world. All the streamers are theoretically brought to you by the internet. Through the power of the internet, not now, Boogie. And it's not a streamer that you would normally associate with everyday entertainment, but it's YouTube. It's YouTube. It's individualized. It's not as professional entertainment, okay? It's not Cheers. It's not Mary Tyler Moore. What do you see all of these classic comedians doing? Do you see them trying to get a new show, or do you see them trying to break into podcasting? We'll circle back to that in a second. We'll go back to what Jerry was talking about. Now they're going to see stand-up comics. I guess maybe in big cities or something like that. Potentially, I'll take your word for it. Because they're not policed by anyone. Yeah, and okay, cool. Even to just draw an analogy to the podcasters that are out there, who are the biggest podcasters? Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, obviously, and what do they also do? Oh, right, okay. The audience polices us, so when we're off track, we know instantly, and we adjust to it instantly. When you write a script and it goes on for 4 or 5 different hands, committees, and groups, here's our thought on this joke. Well, that's the end of your comedy. Oh yeah, so also writers' rooms killed comedy. Again, I don't think he's wrong with that. They move the gates. It's like skiing culture. The gates are moving. Your job is to be agile and clever enough that whether they put up the gates, I'm going to make the gate. Yeah, no, exactly. Where there's risk, there's gain. And Seinfeld acknowledges stand-ups are personally leveraging it the most. With certain comedians now, people are having fun with them stepping over the line and laughing and us all laughing about it. But again, it's the stand-ups that really have the freedom to do it because no one else gets the blame for it and it doesn't go down well. He or she can take the blame themselves. Yeah, exactly. And to paraphrase the late great Patrice O'Neill, you don't know if a joke is going to be funny. A funny joke and an unfunny joke both originate from the exact same spot. It's incumbent on you as a comedian to deliver it in a way that is the most humorous, but if things don't work, well, things don't work, and you learn from that experience. But now there are people that have put up the guardrails that even if you do have a hilarious comment about something, well, you can't talk about that because you're not that group, or that's not a conversation that you're qualified to talk about. These are also the same people that just simply comment about it on social media, never engage with the product to begin with, or are already just predisposed to not liking the content because of, well, their overarching ideology, which is another reason and another thing that Jerry was also talking about in a separate interview, that the movie business is dead. He and so many other legends of the industry have been talking about this, and he's not wrong, but he's also late to the party for coming to this conclusion. Well, still, welcome to the party, though. Jerry Seinfeld says, disorientation replaced the movie business and talks directorial film debut. Yes, this is what it is all in service of. And it's so funny, right? Because Jerry Seinfeld quipped this week that the movie business is over, and now he's just getting into directing. Great timing on that, Jer. Because a sense of confusion among show business workers. Yes, exactly. Disorientation replaced the movie business, Seinfeld told GQ. Everyone I know in show business every day is going, what's going on? What's going on? What happened? What happened? I want to wear the puffy shirt. How do you do this? What are we supposed to do now? Seinfeld was speaking to the outlet in the connection with his film Unfrosted. It's the craziest thing. It's actually, I'm not joking about this. It's a documentary, or at least one of those pseudo-documentaries, about Pop-Tarts. Yes, I'm not joking. It's actually about Pop-Tarts. Okay, it was totally new to me, he said of the experience. I thought I had done some cool stuff, but it was nothing like the way these people work. They're so dead serious. They don't have any idea that the movie business is over. They have no idea. Elaborating on his point, the comedian added he did not tell his coworkers that the film is over, but the film doesn't occupy the pinnacle of social cultural hierarchy the way that it did for most of our lives. Absolutely true. When a movie came out, if it was good, we all went to see it. We all discussed it. We quoted lines and scenes we liked. And now we're walking through a fire hose of water, just trying to see. Exactly. Because that's the thing. Like, I've dipped out of watching modern movies. The last one that I went to the theater to see was Dark Knight Rises. I forget when that was, at 2011, 2013, something like that. That was the last one that I went to the theater to see, and I was never a big fan of the theater to begin with, so it wasn't really a big sacrifice for me. And the last new movie that I seen that came out for a home release was Iron Man 3, and I was so incredibly disappointed and insulted by that film. Just gave up on the media in general, or the medium in general, and then just simply embraced older content. And here's the thing, man. Over the past few days, there was a post that was making the rounds highlighting that it was the 5-year anniversary. 5-year anniversary of Avengers Endgame. Probably the last big actual cultural touchstone moment in cinema. 5 years, man. The second highest grossing film of all time behind Avatar, which is a very funny comparison to draw because everybody went to go see Avatar. I didn't in theaters, but I did see the home release, and I don't remember anything about it, which is, of course, the conversation whenever you bring up Avatar, is that everybody's seen Avatar, but nobody can remember Avatar. Same with the second one. A lot of people seen it. I didn't, but nobody talked about it afterwards, and it's what, the third or fourth highest grossing film of all time. But Avengers Endgame is like, everybody can remember scenes from that. People remember quotes from it. It might be a dog shit film, but people remember it. What can you say about any of the output of Marvel post Endgame? Does anybody unironically quote lines from those films? No. Does anybody remember if Shang-Chi came out before or after Doctor Strange? Or where does Wakanda Forever fit into that? And then, of course, you could talk about the Marvel counterpart with DC, and, well, look at their hodgepodge that they've released over the past couple of years, and does anybody really remember the distinction between Black Adam and Blue Beetle? Not really. One has The Rock, and the other one has people who suck on things that sound like rock. Shout out George Lopez. But no, movies have not been a cultural touchstone moment for a very long time. You would have to go back pre-pandemic. I would have to say. I would argue a little bit before that, because there's just been a lot of slop. Not too many memorable all-time films. Nothing even comes close to the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s output. I would say that everything peaked probably in and around the time of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the early 2000s. I think that's when everybody was looking at that going, wow, man, the marriage of CGI and practical all coming together with a rock-solid script and just some excellent casting and performances. Imagine how great things are going to look 20 years down the line. And, well, we're here. And if somebody whose comedy in general is so damn safe, somebody whose edgiest joke would involve anaphylactic shock, or if those airplane peanuts that he constantly talked about were to be released from the packaging, if he's saying that you guys have got too politically correct, if the left has taken over every single outlet that the movie industry has done, yeah, I think you already know what time it is. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.